Canon 6 of Nicaea shows that Rome was not seen as having universal jurisdiction. Mr. Matitix has not dealt with that. Where does it come from, Mr. Matitix, if the universal faith of the church was that the Roman church, because of the Roman bishop, had universal jurisdiction?
The Council of Constance is irrelevant here. No one is denying that the Catholic Church never denied, nor am I denying tonight as a Catholic apologist, that Constantinople did not have, could not be appropriately recognized as having a secondary influence. What was rejected by Leo was not its desire to be second in rank after Rome, but was the reasoning behind that, saying it is because we are new Rome, because of our imperial status. What Leo found objectionable was this idea that Rome has authority simply because it was the seat of the secular power. That completely ignores, Leo said, the teaching of these ancient Christian writers, which I've alluded to already, that Rome is that most blessed, most preserved and watched over city because it was the beneficiary of the preaching of the two chief apostles, Peter and Paul, because they gave the fullness of their doctrine there, they spilled their blood there, and in a way they continue to preside over the church.
Mr. Matitix, no, I'm off now.
I'm supposed to ask.
Yes, Mr. Matitix, a question.
Wait a second, let me reset
Mr.
this.
White.
Mr. White, you mentioned this evening and also on the radio today, and I called you on it then, I'm going to call you on it again now. You mentioned Basil the Great as making the statement that the people at Rome, and by the implication that you're making, you're referring to the Bishop of Rome, doesn't know the truth. That there was a denial on the part of Basil the Great that there's any sort of grasp of true doctrine at Rome. Now, if you're simply saying he doesn't know the truth about all the historical circumstances of whether Meletius or Paulinus is the proper bishop, then of course there's no real problem being posed to the Catholic position, because we don't claim that the Pope has omniscience or is infallible in his knowledge of, who won the World Series in a certain year, or whether this man is being lied about or what have you. But would you elaborate on that, and would you actually give us the quote, which you did not, that shows that the Bishop of Rome's doctrinal authority is being attacked here by Basil the Great?
Well, first of all, you've misrepresented me very grossly in a number of counts. I obviously did not say that Basil said anything about the Bishop of Rome being clueless in doctrinal issues. I was demonstrating, as we have demonstrated many, many times this evening, that the concept of papal supremacy as announced in Vatican I is not found in the early church. And I did provide you the quote. Maybe you didn't hear it in my opening statements, but I did provide it to you directly. But if you'd like to have it again, this is found in the Nicene, Post-Nicene Fathers, the Christian Faith, second series, volume 8, and it's found, the letters begins on page 253, if anyone would like to take a look at it. It talks about those who have this letter from the Westerners. I quote, "I hear, moreover, that the Paulinians are carrying about a letter of the Westerns, assigning to them the episcopate of the church in Antioch, but speaking under a false impression of Meletius, the admiral bishop of the true church of God. I am not astonished at this. They, that is the Westerns, are totally ignorant of what is going on here. The others, though they might be supposed to know, give an account to them in which party is put before truth. And it is only what one might expect that they should either be ignorant of the truth or should even endeavor to conceal the reasons which led the blessed Bishop Athanasius to write to Paulinus." And then I continued my quote just a little bit farther down there where I said, "I congratulate those who have received a letter from Rome, and although it is a grand testimony in their favor, I only hope it is true and confirmed by facts. But I shall never be able to persuade myself on these grounds to ignore Meletius, or to forget the church which is under him, or to treat as small and of little importance to the true religion the questions which originated the division. I shall never consent to give in merely because somebody is very much elated at receiving a letter from men, even if it had come down from heaven itself, but he does not agree with the sound doctrine of the faith. I cannot look upon him as in communion with the saints." End quote. And there is an interesting note that is produced at the end of the word that comes from men, quote, "St. Basil seems quite unaware of any paramount authority in a letter from Rome." End quote. My point, once again, over and over again this evening, has been to demonstrate to you instance after instance after instance that we see in the early church where men act in utter ignorance of modern papal claims. And my assertion to you is that unless, again, you engage in anachronistic historical research and take a later development that does not develop for a long time and read it back into these people, you will find no reason to believe that they believed as Vatican I teaches. Now, I recognize Vatican I, that's awful strong stuff, but I repeat yet once again, Vatican I claims that this is how the Catholic Church has ever understood these passages. Vatican I claims that this is the ancient. Isn't Basil ancient? This is the ancient and constant faith of the Church. Here is a bishop of the Church. Is he ignorant of these most fundamental things? No. I say that passages like this, and they could be multiplied indefinitely, demonstrate they did not function with a knowledge of the papacy. Thank you.
Once again, Mr. White is sharing with us his misunderstanding of what the Vatican Council means when it talks about the ancient faith of the Church. It does not mean that, therefore, every person who wrote in the ancient age automatically walked in lockstep and agreed on every single detail. That is not what Vatican I is claiming, and it is false for Mr. White to indict it or to accuse it of failing to substantiate a claim that it is in fact not making. He's trampling upon a straw man. Of course, Basil is ancient, but the Church has always recognized, as it's read these fathers, that they disagree on some things and that individual fathers do not see certain things. It is correct to say, as he said earlier, that Cyprian did not see the universal jurisdiction of the Bishop of Rome over his internal affairs in Carthage. He did not see that with the fullness which the Church did later on. No one is claiming that all these bishops performed blamelessly or infallibly. It's interesting to me, and I'm glad that he reread it, that, and Mr. White said earlier, and I wrote his exact words down, he said that Basil was referring to this letter of the Westerners, probably from the Bishop of Rome. Folks, this is a debate about the papacy, not about Westerners and how truthful they may be. There is no evidence that this letter comes from the Bishop of Rome at all, and so it is completely irrelevant to the debate. That these Westerners are ignorant of the truth, even that statement simply means that they are ignorant of the truth of who, in fact, was being more accurate in this controversy between Miletius and Paulinus. Not a truth as to what the apostles had taught and what, in fact, the authority of the Pope was. He said that he hoped that it was true and that it could be supported by facts. But on the mere grounds of a letter from men, from Westerners, he said, I'm not going to change my support and loyalty for Miletius, and I don't think he should have. And no Catholic apologist today claims that he should have. It's irrelevant.
It doesn't seem that Mr. Matix has the source in front of him, so I'll just give him the citation that is put on the term Westerners by the scholars who compiled this. Quote, this description might apply to either of the two letters written by Damasus to Paulinus on the subject of the admission to communion of Vitellius, bishop of the Apollinarian schism at Antioch, numerous references given. The date may necessitate it being referred to the former.